Drop it on them random.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of That Time in Hip Hop, a podcast about history and nostalgia in hip hop, but more importantly, the preservation of hip hop music and culture. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. With me, as always, the homie Tony of IntoTheDome.com. What's good, bruh?
Everything is good, man. Look, I'm drinking CBD living sparkling apple ginger that. So
Damn.
yes, sir, doing all right.
Getting in. I got a Chick-fil-A. They not sponsoring this video, by the way. Chick-fil-A cup, but it got cranberry juice in it. So,
Yeah,
but
I feel
yo,
you.
if y'all are watching this show or listening to this show for the very first time, we have 60 episodes of this very program. You know what I'm saying? Dating way back to our first show, which was all about Raekwon's debut album, Only Built for Cuban Links, featuring Ghostface Killer. We done talked about Jay Electronica before the album actually came out. You know what I'm saying? We done talked about Master P extensively, Too Short. When Jay-Z dropped Hard Knock Life and Outkast dropped Stankonia. Moments in hip hop, the Source Awards, you know what I'm saying? You know you love that. We've talked about moments, players, tastemakers, albums, soundtracks, a lot of different things in hip hop. But more importantly, with us, it's not necessarily about just getting on here and reminiscing, you know what I'm saying? Reliving our youth. Obviously, we do because we were around when all of this stuff was happening, you know what I'm saying? But for us, it's more about teaching people who don't know, reminding people who forgot, preserving the culture, right? You know what I'm saying? We don't talk about it from a high horse as if we the hip hop police, because we're not. We talk about it because we love the music, we love the culture, we love the moments that happen, and we love to share that information with you. So if that sounds good to you, that sounds like your type of hip hop program, hit that subscribe button because we're available wherever you listen to podcasts. We're available right here on YouTube on the B-Roll Network, or you can visit the homie Tony's IntoTheDome.com, where not only can you read some of that history about hip hop artists and other artists in other genres, but there are links to the podcast there as well. So lock yourself in because we got a dope show for y'all, man. But there's a little thing we like to do called This Month in Hip Hop. And this month in hip hop, Tone, let me make sure I get the dates straight. November 4th. Hey, that's somebody's birthday. How about that? 19. No, my bad. I'm mixing it up. Sorry, I'm thinking about somebody personal. Uh, November 4th, 1998. The movie Belly was released in theaters, starring Nas and DMX and featuring a host of other people like Cuddy Ranks. I know Cuddy Ranks, rest in peace to Cuddy Ranks. You know him as
Mhm.
somebody else, though. But, Tone, when you heard about a movie starring Nas and DMX, directed by Hype Williams, was coming out, what was your thoughts? And then when you actually saw it, what was your thoughts after that?
Well, I thought that as far as visually, it would be pretty dope because Hype Williams was pretty good with the videos. He was the go-to person at that time, overcharging people like Buster said on Drink Champs. And Nori, they were saying Hype was getting them nice for $700,000 videos, $1 million videos. So he was very glossy and it was good high end production. So I figured at least it would look good. Of course, I hadn't seen DMX acting. Excuse me, and Nas is so laid back. Didn't know how that would pop off, but it was a perfect train wreck. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a cool story. It was a cool story. The acting wasn't great, of course, but it had high entertaining and replay value. You know what I'm saying for what it's worth. I mean, of course, it's not the Shawshank Redemption and nothing like that, but nevertheless, it was still entertaining, man. It was cool to see my favorite MC on there. You even had Method Man on there, and AZ made a little cameo about the blunt. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I thought it was cool for what it's worth, man. What about you?
Yeah, man. There was a part of me that was hyped because we did a whole show on this about Straight Outta Compton and hip hop movies and history and Crush Groove. Um, so I was kind of hyped from that standpoint. That lineage of hip hop related movies. So you kind of get hyped, but then there was a part of me like, damn, have I even seen Nas act before? And I was thinking the same with
Right.
DMX. It just seemed like it came out of nowhere. Like they got a movie? Like what is this? And I remember somewhat being hyped because obviously, Hype Williams directed it and he's a big name. He's never done movies before, but like you said, it's probably gonna look ill visually. And it just seemed like something that was gonna be dope, you know what I'm saying? And when I first saw it, obviously, like most people, it was like, wow, the acting on here is like this is some, some C film, B film category acting going on. But that was kind of my expectations anyway, given who was starring in it, you know what I'm saying, in their history. But I mean, there was a part of me that definitely enjoyed it. What's that?
So, real quick, the intro, the first scene going to the club. I mean, that was some straight up Hype Williams. That was very dope. You had the Mary J. Blige joint blasting. So it started off real dope in terms of the cinematography. Started off real dope. But you know what? Belly is like a comedy to me. You know what I'm saying? Because DMX is hilarious. The guy, you got to play Kane and Menace was hilarious.
Oh yeah. I don't like that shit.
So it was. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm gonna drop down on them. You know what I'm saying? So it was hilarious.
Yeah. I think that's and that also leads to what we're gonna wind up saying. Like, is it a cult classic or just a terrible movie? And I think it's a cult classic because as much as we know, like, this wasn't Martin Scorsese's film or nothing like that with all those top notch actors, but it was so many memorable characters and moments, like you said. The only thing I ever remember from AZ is I'm about to blow B. Like that's all I remember because it's funny, you know what I'm saying? And you remember Lennox, that's Cuddy Ranks for people who don't know, a dance hall legend before he was Lennox. His stuff, you know what I'm saying? DMX, that's your man's. Like it's a lot of moments in there that for us it was kind of funny just to watch all these different moments. But now when you look at it's kind of like with Baby Boy. Now when you look at like the younger generation that kind of grew up on this, but they wasn't old enough at the time, they love it. Like Paid in Full, Baby Boy, all the movies. So definitely a cult classic, you know what I'm saying? A time in hip hop, 1998. That was a good year. You know what I'm saying? DMX was on fire, by the way, if you didn't know. So he was hot on the music side of things for sure. But definitely check it out if you've never seen it. Yes, it's starring all those people and a couple of others throughout that movie. And like Tone said, one of the greatest intros in the movie ever, with them going to the tunnel. By the way, if y'all don't know what the tunnel looks like, that was the tunnel. With the black light stuff, that was so dope. And then it just gets crazy after that. As soon as they leave the tunnel, you're like, whoa, what kind of movie is this? But yeah, man, definitely check that out. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty, the main topic at hand. You read the title, you know what it is, you know where we about to go, and trust me, all facts. You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to address some of y'all revisionist history people, you know what I'm saying? But everything is documented, and we were there to witness it as fans of hip hop. So we ain't forget. Tone, tell the people what we here to talk about, man.
First things first, Big Daddy said back in like 2002 on Beef DVD 1, the two dudes can't be in the same room saying they're the best MC. You know what I'm saying? Like two people on the basketball court can't be like, I'm the nicest cat on the court. Check up then. Check ball. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it is in life. Whether it's the Lakers against the Celtics, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's, you know what I'm saying, Apple against Microsoft, AT&T and Verizon. Look, competition is part of life. Going back to the gladiators, baby. You know what I'm saying? And this right here today, we're going to talk about the greatest battle in the history of hip hop. Cancel out anyone else you thought it was. Jay-Z versus Nas is by far the greatest battle in hip hop history. Yes, greater than Biggie and Pac. Biggie and Pac really won a battle. Pac bombed on Biggie on 4-5 songs. Biggie really kind of clapped back on Kids Goodnight. We're not sure when it was recorded. It was probably recorded in '96 before Pac passed away. People don't understand that people record songs for albums a year or two sometime before the album is released. So, but that's another whole story for another day. But there's no other battle that had the type of backing and pull from two sets of fans. No, there was no another battle that had this many songs and subliminals in songs versus each other. There's no other battle that really had some real life personal issues intertwined into the battle. There's no other battle that one of them was actually a huge fan of the other one, and it just didn't pop off the way one of them expected. So that said, Jay-Z, if you refer back to the Blueprint 3 on that Star is Born, he talked about hearing him and his man in the car hearing Illmatic. They thought they was all dead. You know what I'm saying? So he is saying when he heard Illmatic, dude, can't none of us compete with this. He's basically saying it on Blueprint 3. Now, we rewind back to Jay-Z coming up in the game. He's recording Reasonable Doubt, and the rumor is Jay-Z had already reached out to Nas and Nas people about being either one on Can I Live or on Grown. Those are some of the rumors that were spreading at that time. Nas never showed up. Nas knew about the sessions. He talked about this back in like 2000 when they was doing interviews on MTV. Jay-Z versus Nas. That was 2000. Excuse me. When they was just talking about the battle, he talked about I heard they wanted me to come to the studio. I didn't really know him at the time or whatever. But he played Jay early on and didn't show up. They still sample of The World Is Yours on Dead Presidents. So, even though he got slighted, he still a year later dropped Volume 1, Where I'm From. He says who's the best MCs, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas, which also was psychologically putting his name in the same company as Biggie and Nas, which is very smart as an MC. You know what I'm saying? But also on there, he used another sample on Rap Game, and he also used another shout out to the Firm on like Sunshine, Tits Firm, like Nature, Foxy, Nas, and AZ. So to me, at that point, it was still a bunch of reverence and respect and admiration for somebody who slighted him like a year and a half before that. So this is the makings of maybe some tension, man. So just initially to the point I am right now, what was your thoughts leading up to this point?
There was a point where when because Reasonable Doubt and It Was Written came out basically the same summer, maybe a week apart, I believe. And everybody was either playing Nas or Jay-Z. 2 weeks. Everybody was either playing Nas or Jay-Z. That's how I remember it that summer or whatever. I never thought about competition, but I always wondered at that point, did they really know each other like that? I don't know why Jay-Z wouldn't be on his album, vice versa. I don't know. But also I knew Jay-Z before that, when he was with Original Flavor and all that. So I figured, well, maybe you don't know each other like that. But then when you hear songs like Dead Presidents and samples Nas, it's like, well, maybe they do know each other like that, for the sample. But I never knew that Jay-Z wanted Nas on that album. Now it makes sense given the features that are on there. Foxy's on there, Biggie's on there, you know what I'm saying? Mary J's on. He had a lot of features on the low. I think a lot of people don't think about that when they think of Reasonable Doubt, but he had a lot of features on there. But the thing that's kind of that struck me is, like you said, Tone, the second album, and then the Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. Who's the best MCs? Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. And I was like, wow, I'd never heard nobody say that before. But like you said, it's smart. It was usually who's the best MCs, Biggie or Nas. That was the talk in New York City. Jay-Z wasn't a part of that conversation, but he made himself a part of that conversation by saying that. So it made you pay attention to him, and then also kind of getting co-signed a lot by Biggie. A lot of people like to forget about that, but Biggie was co-signing the hell out of Jay-Z, saying he was better than him, all types of shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it kind of started to creep into my mind like, okay, well, whatever, but I'm still not thinking beef, you know what I'm saying? Or tension. I know there's a relationship, but I'm not seeing it play out in front of us like a fan. So I was kind of wondering, but I didn't know. Like, Jay-Z wrote for Foxy, Nas wrote for Foxy. It always seemed weird that at that point, like, so they like never on a song together, never near each other.
Yeah, I think that was. I think for Nas, maybe there might have been a little competition for Nas that he never wanted to talk about, because Jay-Z was one of the guys. He started running around New York with his homies. They in the clubs popping champagne without him being a superstar yet. You know what I'm saying? His name is ringing bells kind of in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Biggie is co-signing him. Like I said, you already got Mary J. Blige and all these people riding with you. You know what I'm saying? And even though he showed Nas a lot of love, Nas might have saw him as competition coming up. Like, wait a minute, this Jay-Z is not the same guy who was on tour with me and Lost Professor a couple years ago, because they did know each other. And we're gonna get into some of that in a few minutes. So they knew who each other's were. They was on tour with Lost Professor. You know what I'm saying? So a main source. So Nas knew who Jay-Z was. You know what I'm saying? And when Jay-Z slowed his style up, his flow up a little bit, and started popping off, that was also referencing the Last Real Nigga Alive. We'll get into that too. You know what I'm saying? But I think what happened was when Biggie died, Jay-Z drops Volume 1, and he drops the single "The City Is Mine." You know what I'm saying? So now you're gonna say, okay, Biggie gone. Hell, the city is mine now. It's like, I was saying who the best MC. Biggie, forget that. I'm the best MC. The city is mine. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I think that right there makes Nas feel a certain way. Like, hold on, this dude, he can rap, he nice, but he coming up like the city is mine. Like, nah, bro, I just dropped. It was written last year and sold almost 3 million records. You know what I'm saying? So the city ain't yours. The city is mine. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of where it was at. And then it got quiet for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And then when I Am dropped after Napster leaked it, whatever, when I dropped, and then We Will Survive is a track on the album. And, We Will Survive is a track dedicated to Biggie and Pac. And on there, he say, and they claim to be New York's king. It ain't about that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's like the first little kind of a subliminal towards Jay-Z. So that's really kind of where on Wax, that's the first time somebody said something about the other one that wasn't favorable. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And let the party begin. That's how it started, man. And then, of course, everything started to bubble after that, man. But up to that point again, man, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, man. When I first heard the city is mine, I felt some kind of way about it. And initially it wasn't even about feeling some kind of way about what Jay-Z is saying as it relates to Nas. It was more so like Biggie just left us. You know what I'm saying? But because Biggie was kind of like, passing the baton to him when he was here, I didn't really think too much of it. Like, well, I mean, Biggie was saying he wanted to retire, and he was like, because the cats like Jay-Z, he don't know if he can keep up. So it kind of felt like he was passing that torch anyway. But like you
Yeah.
said, when Nas said, and they claimed to be New York's king, it ain't about that. I was like, oh, he's only talking about one person. You know what I'm saying? Because there
Yeah.
really was only one person outside of Biggie that was claiming the city. You know what I'm saying? And that really had me. That perked up my ears a little bit. But again, I'm not thinking battle. I'm thinking, okay, because remember, people got to remember at this time we hadn't had, besides maybe Cannabis and LL, but that was kind of a little bit different. We hadn't had that time that we had in the 80s where there were battles everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like the top MCs were battling all the time. So we wasn't really looking
Yeah.
for an all-out battle. It was just kind of like, some subliminals here and there. So Tone, I was literally, maybe I was like in hip hop denial. I was catching them, but I was like, nah, they ain't gonna go there. Like they competing with albums and songs and record sales. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I was feeling at the time.
Yeah. So, but then, so we're talking about this is 1989. When these little shots are gonna start, because of course, Memphis Bleak had a couple of songs where it sounded like he was taking little shots at Nas, and then Rockefeller at some point, and we'll get into that. When they was doing all these stuff like that, but they was doing that. So then Nas drops Nostradamus. We talking about 1999, and on the title track, he said, "If you want a ball to you, I can help you with that. If you want beef, I can let a slug melt to your hat." So he's kind of talking about, he's answering Memphis Bleak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's when the homie kind of like, okay, he's kind of throwing shots back. You know what I'm saying? And then also Nostradamus, Nas does it again. He has the song "Come and Get Me," and he said, "What you say, girl in mouth, get it crunk like the dirty South." And he said, "Girls dig you. Imagine what they feel for me, and everybody know you took your style from me, and all." He said all this stuff gonna come get me, and it's like, wait a minute, who is he talking about? Because he already said earlier that year, "I am ain't to be New York King. It ain't about that." So now putting this together, I'm sitting back at the crib like, who is not talking about, because he did make that little remark on "We Will Survive," and that was definitely against that cat Jay-Z. Nobody
Yeah.
else has a problem with Nas. I think something's bugging right here. So then you
Yeah.
fast forward a
Well,
month after Nostradamus
hold up,
dropped.
real quick
Mm-hmm.
though. With the I just wanted to point out for people with the ball, you want to ball till you fall. That was a part of a song that Memphis Bleak had. So when he said you want to ball till you fall, we knew exactly who he was talking about. And that slug melt in your
Yep.
hat just kind of capped it off. But am I
Yep.
wrong, or I thought the story also was that Bleak wanted Nas on his album because he was a huge Nas fan, like documented, and I believe he wanted Nas on his album, and he got snubbed in the same way Jay-Z did. But Bleak decided to kind of go at Nas, which gave him that line.
No, I think that was some hip hop folklore right there. I know he was a fan of Nas because everybody was a fan of Nas. So was Freeway and everyone else later on in the years that talked about that. But I think somebody kind of spread that a little bit more. But by that time, it was already tension. So they wouldn't have asked Nas to
Yeah,
be on nothing by 1999. Yeah, so you got in around November, if I'm not mistaken, Nostradamus drops. And like I said, the Nostradamus title track and "Come and Get Me" is on there. So then volume 3, you know what I'm saying? We fast forward and now we're at volume 3 because volume 2 was 98. Jay-Z's a huge star now. As by the time volume 3 comes out, he's the biggest guy in hip hop. he has a song on there, Come and Get Me. You know what I'm saying? So Nas got Come Get Me. Jay-Z got a song, Come and Get Me. You know what I'm saying, on volume 3. And he's spitting some fire on there, and you could surmise that is against Nas. So now we're in 1999. Now you have 4 or 5 subliminals that's obvious. And as a fact, let me correct myself. This is now when all of Rockefeller go up to the radio station and they do styles. Mm-hmm. This is after Nostradamus and after Volume 3. This is before the Dynasty and all that. In 2000, did the radio station, they bombing on everybody. They rapping over Mob Deep beats. Nas's Like beat came on, and Ben and Siegel was like, nah, skip that beat. There's too many flutes. It's too light. You know what I'm saying? So they being kind of funny. You know what I'm saying? So Nas actually speaks to Jay-Z on the phone. And Jay is like, man, we just kind of fucking around, yada, yada, yada. Nas comes back and does that Stillmatic freestyle. And now it's like, okay, rip the freeway, shoot through mills with money bags, stop in Philly, order cheesesteaks and eat beans fast. Take it back to the fake king of the... You show off or count dough off when you sample my voice. Then he said, I rule you when you used to rap like the few sneakers. I designed the blueprint. You know, so now it's like, ain't the homo and all this is like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Then you know, Jay-Z comes, you know, he does the Is That Your Chick with Twister and Memphis Bleak and Missy Elliott. It's like, woo, this is flame right here. You know, during this time, you got that song. Then you got Nas comes back on DJ Clue and does that Eye for an Eye freestyle. Oh. And at the end of that Eye for an Eye freestyle, he says, you know, you gonna be the next rapper to die fucking with Nas. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got, for real. He say Stillmatic, still eye for an eye. You want to be God. You'll be the next rapper with Nas. Everybody know they're hopeful. He said, you be God. You know what I'm saying? These now are not really so subliminal anymore, babe. Now we're in 2000 now.
Mm-hmm. Now this the thing that we kind of left out because Jay-Z only teased it, and it kind of, the spotlight was more so on Prodigy, but he did kind of set it off with some of those freestyles. Was at Summer Jam, where everybody knows where Jay-Z showed the picture of Prodigy. You know, you was a ballerina. I got the pictures. I seen you, and it was Prodigy at his grandmother's dance school or whatever. But it's when and this was on K Slay's mixtape, this kind of how it spread, you know what I'm saying, after being at Summer Jam in New York. But when he said, you know, ask Nas, he don't want it with Hov, that was like Jay-Z saying, the battle's on. You know what I'm saying? Like, the gloves is off, the subliminals are done.
Yeah.
But it was more like bait. And I know you get into what Jay-Z was basically doing when he did that at Summer Jam.
Yeah, timeline was real the same timeline, because, like I said, the Rockefeller freestyles and the freestyles back with Nas and everything like that, it got quiet again for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Jay-Z drops the Dynasty album. Nas is still doing his thing or whatever. He dropped the QB's Finest album, you know, and things of that nature working. Now, like you said, fast forward to Summer Jam, several months later, we still on point. Jay-Z performs. He disses Prodigy. Now, Prodigy and Court Maker had that song Done and Kinko, and I always thought those against Nas and Jay anyways, and maybe Jay-Z heard that. You know what I'm saying? But then, you know, Prodigy also had keep it thorough and joints like, you know, on his album was just HNIC. Prodigy was popping in the streets real hard. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Jay-Z decided to attack him and throw some bait at Nas to see was Nas going to take the bait. You know what I'm saying? So when they keep doing these freestyles and things like that, when Jay-Z decides when the blueprint comes out, basically with H to the Homo, that made Jay-Z go back and put the verse into the blueprint. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That was really did it. You gonna start calling them names in the freestyle. Jay-Z had that ace, you know what I'm saying, on the card too. He did the takeover when the blue dropped on 9/11. It's all out assault on Nas and Mobb Deep, you know,
Yeah.
and it's kind of done in the same vein. It's kind of done in the same vein as the way KRS-One did the Bridge Is Over. It was
Yeah.
powerful, like the Bridge Is Over,
Yeah.
to the point where New York had to stand up and people. You was up there, but I was getting phone calls like, "Dog, Nas gotta. Did you hear the bridge, the takeover? Because man, Nas might be over, man. Like Nas got to come back from that, man. Like this is serious, Jay. Because for one, Blueprint One, Jay-Z was the king of rap at that time,
Yeah.
and and if it would have been anyone else, he might have buried them, man. So Nas took his time, man, to make a response to the takeover.
Mhm. Yeah. I remember like when I first heard the takeover and that beat, that energy, like you said, Jay-Z's status at the time. Jay-Z was dropping like for young cats who don't understand. Jay-Z was dropping hit after hit after hit. He was dropping an album every year. He wasn't missing. He,
Yep.
and in his words, he was not losing at all. You know what I'm saying? And Nas had dropped Nostradamus, which didn't do well, obviously, because of the whole bootlegging thing. We did a whole episode on it. You can check it out. And the Firm album didn't really do what it was supposed to do, and the QB's Finest didn't really rock the way. So it felt like Nas was declining, but Jay-Z was on fire. So when you heard the takeover and you hear Jay-Z, it just kind of fit his status at the time. And he was like the king of New York
He
at
did.
that point in time. You know what I'm saying? So when I heard that, it was just like if Nas is declining to me in his output as far as his music, and Jay-Z is not only high, but he's just dominant. The takeover verse was just my God. Like, let's just talk about some of those lyrics in that verse alone. Shit.
I mean, first he said he had one hot album every 10-year average. You know what I'm saying? Just saying something like that,
Yeah.
even though it's true, it made casual fans and even some fans in general dissect the Nas work. Now, for me, it wasn't nothing to me hearing that because Illmatic, top 5 rap album, it was written as a classic to me, and I had the
Mhm.
bootleg version I Am that was simply incredible. So the Nostradamus might have been a miss, even though lyrically Nostradamus was dope. Some of the production wasn't
Yeah.
great, but Nas was still one of the head MCs in the game. But Jay Z painted a picture of
Mhm.
dude falling off. I told you, he tried to MC Shannon. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He absolutely tried to MC Shannon Nas. And if Nas would have been emotional and rushed some whack response, Jay-Z would have buried
Mhm.
Nas at that time. And we're talking about Nas would have got MCs. You know what I'm saying? But he would have got buried.
Yeah.
Same way, Mo D might have got buried by LL. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. So, but Nas
Yeah.
took his time. It took a couple of months, actually. And all of a sudden, first I had got myself a gun. You know what I'm saying? Throwing a little or whatever. But then when Ether drops, hip hop was never the same again, Vague. And Jay-Z was
Yeah,
never the
man.
same again. Because
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't.
Jay-Z at that time was literally Superman. Jay-Z was Superman in 2001, and Ether was straight up a chain of kryptonite around his neck.
Yeah. And real quick, just to double back on because of Ether and some of the things we can quote from it, because there was a lot of rebuttals to what was said in Takeover, but like you said, Jay-Z is saying things to Nas in the Takeover, like, you went from top 10 to not mention at all to your bodyguard's Uchiwali verse better than yours. Matter of fact, you had the worst verse in the whole fucking song, but I know the sun don't shine if sun don't shine. That's why you're lame. Your shit is garbage. What you trying to acknowledge? Like, y'all niggas gonna learn to respect the king. Like, he was saying some shit, and then he also teased, you know who, did you know what, well, you know who, but we keep that between me and you. Like, he was teasing a lot of shit and saying a lot of shit, like, even like, yeah, I sampled your voice, you was using it wrong. You made it a hot line. I made it a hot song. Now, that just as a rebuttal to a freestyle was just crippling. I was like, holy shit, this nigga Jay-Z
Yeah.
he's going for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he really going for it. But Tone, like you said, man, when I heard Ether, I didn't know what to expect. Like, the beat didn't draw me in right away because I was waiting for the punchlines, and just starting with the hook and the intricacy of the hook, using Jay-Z's I Will Not Lose as an acronym at the same time. I was already pulled in, like, oh, this is what we doing. Okay. Uh, but we can start getting into Ether, and reason for some people who don't know, the reason why that diss record was so powerful of a rebuttal. The title of the song became a slang in hip hop itself. Um, but Tone, yeah, let's talk about Ether, man.
I mean, you know what? When a song start off and it says "fuck Jay-Z," you already know what the energy is like. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? He
yeah.
go he goes into discrediting him. He discredits his criminal history. He
Mm,
his looks. He discredits Rockefeller Records. He discredited, with Dame Dash. You. I guess you big and that, you puffy and big and Rockefeller got an age. Those are the end of the chapter. That's the name he coming after something like that. I mean,
yeah,
but it was just a lot of stuff he was saying, man. And he was going real deep, man. You abuse as a child what they call you ugly. Life is harsh.
yeah,
Hug me. Don't reject me. You know what I'm saying? He was calling his son basically, man. You know what I'm saying? Like he really was like, you been my dick, you my child. You know what I'm saying? Like he really
mm-hmm,
he Jay-Z power and he insulted him. And I think that he played that card right because, you know, sometimes you ain't got to go the whole lyric for lyric thing. In a battle, you got to find an angle that can knock your opponent against the ropes. And I think the way he came at Jay-Z, Jay-Z being at the top of the rap game, he really hurt his feeling, his pride. I mean, it's been on record. Petey Crack even said that when they heard Ether, it was quiet inside the Rockefeller office. And people just sitting there like,
mm-hmm.
what happened? You know what I'm saying? Like Memphis Bleak, like, wow, you know what I'm saying? He gets up and walks out. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the man right now, and he getting smashed on by Nas, man. Nobody expected Ether to be what it was. Nobody knew he was gonna say the stuff he said. And then, at the end, it's like, you pop shit, apologize, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he really took about 5 minutes damn near and talked shit to him.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And to the point where 24 hours later, he back on Angie Martinez was super ugly. And then you know who, you know what, is Nas' baby mama that Jay-Z has this affair with or what have you. He throws all that into the freestyle. And really, in retrospect, well, even back then, it ended up backfiring because the mafia rules no women and kids. Jay-Z was in his
right.
feelings.
Clearly in his feelings. And I remember when it dropped. Oh, well, real quick, let me just, for people who don't know, I wasn't living in New York at the time. I was still in Baltimore, but I was a host of their radio show in Baltimore, Strictly Hip Hop. Shout out to them. been around for 30 years, mentioned on Into the 36 Chambers, Don't Sleep. But I was hosting a hip hop show, underground hip hop show, at the time of this battle. So you already know the minute I heard Ether that day, the plans was in for that night to not only play Takeover, play Ether, play the freestyles, open up the phone lines and have everybody talk about them. But when I heard Super Ugly, I was like, oh, Jay-Z mad because he don't even rap like this. He didn't even give Mace
Right.
this kind of lackluster, style of rapping. You know what I'm saying? Jay-Z literally was trying to find a way to get under Nas's skin because he was definitely under Jay-Z's skin. And one of the things that was happening around that time was that at least the narrative that was coming around was that everything Nas was saying was mostly lies, whereas everything Jay-Z was saying was true, which isn't exactly true. I think Jay-Z was so high up on himself because everybody did feel like Eminem murdered him on his own shit. Everybody felt that way when they heard Blueprint. They're like, damn, Eminem verse kind of better than Jay-Z's. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was already saying that. The thing that stung was that Nas used that because everybody who was a hip hop fan could relate to that. You did go from Kane to Irv to Big, and you did go from those like being under those dudes. It's documented. There's videos, show and prove video with Kane. Jay-Z's there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they and really also like taking his lines and throwing them back at him. Like, am I trying to kick knowledge? Nah, I'm trying to kick the shit you need to learn though. That ether, that shit that make your soul burn slow. Like that shit hurt because Jay-Z knew it was hot.
Ooh, that hurt.
You know what I'm saying? So it was so much that every time we listened to Ether, you know what I'm saying, or even when we played it on the show and people wanted to discuss it, there was nothing Super Ugly could do because it just showed that, just like in battle rap culture, if you watch battle rap culture, if you get emotional in the battle, you're losing. Like if you can't keep your composure and rebuttal with bars and schemes or whatever, and you just get emotional and you really just want to fight now, you already lost. Like he said, I prove you lost already.
And you know what? Yeah. And so when Jay-Z was emotional, he didn't, he shot an air ball with Super Ugly in my but when he finally let some of the dust clear a little bit, he came back and got with Ski Beats and did People Talking. You know what I'm saying? And when he did People Talking, I was like, okay, now Jay back on this grind again. On People Talking, man, some slick lines. I mean, we know it was a Nas diss, very underrated Nas diss. That it's hard to even hear on YouTube right now. It's hard to find it. But if you got the Unplugged, it's on the Unplugged live album as a bonus track. Jay-Z did, man, but People Talking, man, he was also against the arms to shoot too short the box, you know what I'm saying? But he was really good, man, and what he say? Damn, it's just some dope lines in People Talking. I can't remember right now, but check that out, people. But they still did a few more subliminals, and then what happened after a few months when the Blueprint 2 later that year. Think about this. His new album is called Blueprint 2, but the Blueprint 2 title track is a 3-minute Nas diss. And he talks about Nas. He talks about his brother Jungle. He talks about he fake kicking knowledge. He told Rosa Perez, "You're naive for believing Nas bullshit." He told everybody that they on some shit because Nas is a fraud. You know what I'm saying? Can't y'all see that he's fake? Version of TD Jakes prophesizing on your CD tape, but won't even give you a crumb off the little bit that he make. He said, "I put dollars on mine." Ask Columbine when the Twin Towers dropped out the first in line. You know what I'm saying? He was like, "That's how you judge hoes." No, You know what I'm
That's what
saying?
we
It's
needed.
like, hey, he
That's
said,
what
and
that
that's
was
what
the
Jay.
rebuttal
That was
for
the diss
Ether we
song
should have
right
got.
there.
Huh?
The Blueprint 2, man. I mean, he went in. I mean, like, yo, your little homie Junk is a garden to me. What's the problem, B? You ain't as hard as me. Nigga, hard as we. Nigga, ROC, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, they feel my pain and my agony. I won't rest till you're on one knee, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Yeah.
just war's gonna be. You know what I'm saying? So Jay was in his bag. The flow was, yeah, Jay-Z went in on that joint. And I remember telling my homie, I said, dog, have you heard the Blueprint 2 title track? I was like, this Jay and Nas battle that heat back up again.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts when you heard that joint?
Oh my God. When I heard the Blueprint 2, I was like, yo, Jay, this is what we wanted to hear after Ether. This would have changed the scope of that battle if you get
Yeah.
rid of Super Ugly and you get this. The points he was making, the way he was setting it up lyrically, it's exactly what we expected. But I felt like the time had passed. Super Ugly had already made his mark and settled the battle at that point in time. But when I heard Blueprint 2, man, like, is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it one Mike? Is it Black Girl Lost or do Shorty owe you for ice? I've been real all my life. Y'all confuse me with fakes. Like, yo, Jay-Z was spitting on that joint.
Yeah.
But it was it was too late. Like, you know what I'm saying? The attention that happened. And just to double back just a little bit, for people who don't know, like I was back and forth from New York, and even having a radio show in cities across, like basically black cities and black radio stations, urban radio stations, everybody was taking a vote for who won when Ether and Super Ugly was all out. And Jay-Z was losing everywhere, including New York. You know what I'm saying? And that was probably was really crushing to him, was the fact that people weren't picking him when he was dominant on the charts and, you know, releasing music at the time. And it really brought Nas back up. Like, it reminded people, like, yo, this is the dude that made Illmatic. You think you could just attack him like that and not get a war?
Yeah.
And we did it on our
and
show
also,
too.
yeah.
It was unanimous.
Yeah. And that's when Jay-Z, of course, had the meltdown with Martinez on a radio station because he was you can kind of hear in his voice that he was very, very frustrated. And they frustrated each other because when Nas was on Summer Jam and they didn't let him do his set, that's when he went on the radio station as well and was out of character and was talking about the Roots and talking about Cameron and Nori and Nelly and all of this stuff. So they both was pushing each other's buttons real bad. But now fast forward after Blueprint 2, I was wondering, like, damn, what is Nas gonna do after Jay-Z trying to ignite this game? Because he said in Blueprint 2 that I will not lose even in defeat. So he kind of admitted that he lost. You know what I'm saying? So now he was trying to have round 2. You know what I'm saying? So Blueprint 2 was basically round 2 of Jay-Z and Nas battle. Nas was smart when he came out with Godson. He did Made You Look first for the streets. You know what I'm saying? And of course, he's still taking jabs at jail. Made You Look. Another big street anthem. The video was dope. It was in all the 5 boroughs. Fat Joe in the video with him, everything. So now Nas is like, I'm taking the streets back. You know what I'm saying? But then on the album, he turns around and does The Last Real Nigga Alive. And that's, he ended up being like the nail in the coffin because he just said, you know what? Let me tell you about my Biggie Wars. Who you thought kicking the door was for? But that's my heart. You know, then he goes in this whole story about his life in hip hop and even brings Jay-Z in it. And he said he was talking about Ray and Big, and then he said Jigga started flowing like us. You know what I'm saying? And Big took about at one point he had what he say about Jay? He said, well, at the end he said, I was Scarface, Jay was Manolo. It hurt me when I had to kill him, whole squad for Dolo. You know what I'm saying? But before that, he talked about Jay trying to sneak attack while his mom was sick and all of that stuff and try to embarrass the hood and in order for Jay to be the Dons had to go. The Gambino rules about no women and kids. He talked about that. The gift and the curse, fuck that shit. The first shall be last. I'm a man's man. A rapper's with G.O.D. There be none after. I was Scarface to Manolo. It hurt me when I had to kill him and his whole squad for Dolo. And when he ended the song with that, I was like, you know what? I think that was the finale of the greatest rap battle in history.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember hearing that too. And I remember thinking, like, am I getting tired of this battle? Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, people don't understand. Tone just went over a couple of years of the subliminals and all of that. What's up?
One more thing. During the time of Godson, an unreleased song from Nas called Star Wars came out as well.
Yep.
And you guys can go on YouTube and put in Star Wars, but he talked about all of the battles, historic battles in hip hop history. Then he threw more shots at Jay-Z in there and said, what he said Star Wars, man. Let me see. He said he had some lines for Jay on Star Wars, man, about him and his co-defendants. He named Jay in there and stuff like that. They threw shots at him and what have you. But Last Real Nigga Alive was, to me, was the end. And it pretty much was the end. We can talk about some reconciliation in a minute, but that was Godson was the end of the battle.
Yeah, it was. Because like we said before, you know, like the peak of the battle was after Super Ugly, and the people voted, and it was unanimous to the people that Nas had won, mainly because Jay-Z's rebuttal to Ether was an emotional, trash, almost uncharacteristic diss record from someone like Jay-Z, who was way better than that. And it took him a minute to step away and come back, like Tone said, with the Blueprint 2, which was a well thought out, way better response to a song like Ether and to Nas. And I think, like you said, I think Nas responding to that kind of capped off the battle as like, look, this is what it is. This is what happened. I'm moving on. I lost my mom's. Here's some other records. Time to make records again about other stuff. And I remember him saying like how he didn't want to make another song about another rapper. You know, again, because that's just not what he was in rap to do. Obviously, as a hip hop head, especially coming from Queensbridge and that whole history from with their battles with BDP, obviously he was going to engage. But I you know, I kind of walked away feeling like that was like a treat. I was happy to be alive to witness that. You know what I'm saying? Like two titans like that going at each other and lyrical skill and knowing each other and breaking down each other's careers and relationships with other people. Just trying to be the king. Now, Tone, this is just, you know, just question wise, because we know on Twitter, we know on social media, on YouTube, where we are, we know that when time passes, people revise history to fit what they feel, right? Back then, when the battle happened and it was all said and done, we know what the polls were, but who did you feel won the battle? And another question that's probably even deeper, given who's missing from this relationship, would this battle have happened if Big never died?
All right, first things first, because I know, like you said, a lot of people who are younger, they read blogs, they views, and they saw whatever on YouTube. And I'm sorry not to be funny, matter. When you live, I was in the hanging out during that time. And to be honest with you, when Ether dropped, it really was a nuclear bomb on hip hop.
Mm.
These are facts. There was nothing ever like it. The last time I heard something as powerful as Ether was The Bridge Is Over. You know what I'm saying? So yes, Nas won the battle. Nas won the streaks. Yeah, some diehard Jay-Z fans might say the Takeover, they feel like it was a better record. They have their own opinion. But overall, the streaks claimed Nas was the winner because first things first, Jay-Z went out of character. When you get out of character, you lose. Jay-Z cool,
Yeah.
calm, and collected until he heard Ether and he lost his damn mind. You know what I'm saying? And to the point where his mom said, "You go songs." You know what I'm saying? Nas was cool, calm, and collected when it came to his song. At the end, when he did Last Real Nigga Alive, it was kind of sitting there like the Don, like, let's just explain this to y'all so I can be done with this now. Because I already won. You know what I'm saying? So that was his victory lap. You know what I'm saying? Last Real Nigga Alive was the victory lap on God's Son that solidified Nas' victory. Because again, a lot of fans think just the Jay-Z and Nas battle was Ether against the Takeover or Ether against Super Ugly. But this is a battle that pretty much started in 1999 and went past 2003. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reality of it. It was a lot of songs, and at the end of the day, Nas won. And as far as Biggie, well, you know, I actually think that Nas and Biggie might have won a bit of Jay-Z battle. Again, on Life After Death, you know, he took several subliminals at Nas. You know what I'm saying? And Nas had taken some subliminals at him Affirmative Action remix. You know what I'm saying? So they was taking shots at each other already. So that might have been something to end up bubbling. And we probably would have never got a Jay-Z versus Nas battle. I mean, Jay-Z, you know, was saying he was going to be a rap star. How large? But he was going to be a rap star because he was just that good. But we don't know to the extent. But no, there wouldn't have been a Jay-Z versus Nas if Biggie would have been alive. Because you know, Biggie would have been alive, that probably would have mean Pop might have been alive, and hip hop looks totally different.
Exactly.
So that's my.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when I heard Ether, obviously I felt like it was just better because it took a lot of what Jay-Z was saying, a lot of what Jay-Z was at the time, and it kind of turned it on his head. And I think what also beyond just the lyrics in that record, what that made Jay-Z put out that whack rebuttal in Super Ugly was how people were reacting to it. I think that's what was really digging at him more than anything, because I think he thought he had Nas dead to rights with his verse on Takeover. And obviously he didn't have a follow-up because he thought that was it. Because if Jay-Z had a follow-up, trust me, Super Ugly wouldn't have been it unless Super Ugly was it, and that was terrible.
That's right.
But people who weren't, that wasn't it at all. And what people need to understand, especially those who weren't around and those who like to forget, saying Hova's over was kind of a thing. And that has to sting when you like bars, when you at the top of the game and everybody is your people's, and this dude who used to be, you trash him, but now everybody's with him. And now he almost Ja ruled him. Almost.
Yeah.
Like literally. He almost made it where people looked at Jay-Z. And I guess one thing I wanted to point out, my man used to say this all the time, because he liked Jay-Z and he liked Nas, but he didn't like the fact that Jay-Z tried to go at Nas when he thought Nas was declining, when he was at his weakest point. You know what I'm saying? He thought that was a sucker move. And so did everybody else. So it's one of those things where it was like, it was almost deeper than rap, but I'm glad it played out on the rap side. I agree with you, Tone. It was going to be Biggie and Nas because it was already kind of happening. The subliminals were there. It wasn't.
It was bubbling.
It didn't feel like it was disrespectful. It really felt like it was more like my songs versus your songs. You know what I'm saying? Like sparring almost. It didn't get crazy, but Jay-Z and Nas, yeah, it was like friendly competition. But Jay-Z and Nas felt like I don't think I like you battle rap, and that's usually the best battle rap. You know what I'm saying? So, dope.
Well,
But yeah, let's talk about what happened after.
So,
Mhm.
so just real quick. So, yeah, because there was some personal parts to the story, obviously with Carmen, the baby mom, because when Jay-Z did that, is that your chick and all that, he pretty much told the whole damn story there. So it cut deep with Nas, I'm sure. That is the mother of his oldest child. So we know that, it has some real situation there. Now, as far as uh where we go from here, Kanye West was on the rise. He had dropped a classic drop. He had just dropped Late Registration. So it was a song on there called We Made You. And that song We Made You had Nas on it. So a
Yeah.
lot of information that came to me was that was one of Jay-Z's favorite songs on the album, even with Nas on there. And I even think that he had considered doing a remix and jumping on there. So Kanye was glad to know that Jay-Z really liked that song, and Kanye let Jay-Z know that he still was a really big Nas fan. So during that time, mutual friends in the industry was like, would you even be willing to talk to this dude? And so I think that came to Jay-Z first, and Jay-Z mind, and then they went to Nas, I think, to talk to Nas, and that's when they talked about it on with Sway on BET when they end up talking, and they ran into each other. It was set up for them to talk, and they just both kind of just laughed like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like they got past it. They both alive, healthy, doing well, and that's when they started talking. I guess somewhere behind closed doors they talked, and then it led up into the I Declare War concert that became legendary in hip hop.
Exactly. And what I really liked most about that, what you just said, when they got to the point where they were face to face finally after all these songs, all these subliminals, uh, fans taking it more serious than them, you realize that they were always cool. And all it took was for them to be face to face to realize that without even having to say a word and start laughing. And that's kind of what you want. A lot of people want to carry on, even now, want to carry on this adversary thing. And sometimes fans don't want to do it for sport. They really dead serious about who they like more than the other. But it's music and it's hip hop. And battling on this show, we've talked about it numerous times. Battling is a part of that. And it's just dope that it was on wax, especially because of the way the Tupac and Biggie situation was painted. That was painted as if it was a battle. Like Tone said, Tupac was the only one making actual
It
records.
was.
Yeah, and then both of them are gone. But in the media, it's like hip hop battles go wrong and people end up dead. And Jay-Z and Nas showed them, no, that's not how it happens. We may battle and this and that, but we can come back together. And I think that was the dopest part of that,
Yeah.
them getting up.
Yeah, and also, once they did the I Declare War, which I still watch it sometime, man, give you goosebumps, man. It was a dope moment in hip hop when brought Nas out there on stage and they did Dead Presidents and the World Is Yours and stuff like that. And then after that, you know, Jay-Z ended up being on Hip Hop Is Dead, on Black Republicans with Nas, you know what I'm saying? And then Nas ended up being on American Gangster on Success with Jay, and they both performed with each other on various occasions on summer jams and other performances, stuff like that. Jay-Z showed for Nas Illmatic 25-year reunion anniversary and performed something with them. They've been at each other's birthday parties over the years and stuff like that, and it's one of them things where that's where that respect grew, and it seemed like to this day they're fine, even though a lot of people think that Jay still got a problem with him because it seemed like when Nas released something, Jay released something close proximity, which it could be fun for him, a little competition for him.
Yeah. And I think it was I'm glad you said that because recently with Nas's new album, King Disease, on Power 105, Charlemagne asked him about that. He was like, "Do you think it's just a coincidence that every time you drop something, Jay-Z puts out something? Even with King's Disease come out and then Jay-Z drops a song with him and Pharrell." And Nas said he just thinks it's the synergy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gearing up, I'm dropping music, he's hearing my music, he's feeling my energy, and now he's excited and he wants to add to that. And it's more about adding on. But because of the battle, some fans only see it as, oh, Jay-Z's winning the war. Like, stop it. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, yes, it's a
No, I
coincidence, but at
think
the
I
same
think
time, it ain't beef. What'd you say?
no, it's not. I believe, yeah, it's no beef. I believe these guys sincerely have. I don't know if they're friends, but I know they're very acquaintances and associates. Like I said, you can pull up pictures of them throughout the last, since the late registration, in various
Mm-hmm.
occasions with each other. You know what I'm saying? I have not one problem with each other. I think they're just fine. You know what I'm saying? I think they have a lot of respect for each other, and happy for each other's success. You know, they both won in life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They both are settled. They didn't get harmed. You know what I'm saying? They had a good battle for hip hop. You know, and I just think they're both in a great place. They seem like they're both in a great place in their life where they can sit back and have everyone like us talk about it. That time in hip hop when two of the gods of the game threw haymakers at each.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So for all of those revisionist history, I was there. This is what really happens. My cousin and them told me. We just gave y'all literally all you need to know about that battle, the pivotal points, you know what I'm saying? Certain things that happen, and you can kind of see how not really talking, having reservations about one another or each other's intentions can lead to a certain battle. And as hip hop fans, it was a treat for us, but it's over. You know what I'm saying? The best you can do. And let's also add that Jay-Z said he never performed Takeover anymore, and Nas said he'll never perform Ether anymore. So a certain level of respect for both of those brothers, you know what I'm saying, for just giving us a dope moment in hip hop and also showing us that it's not about violence. Hip hop is not about violence just because two men are battling and saying things that you would think would invite a fight. It's all about bars and battle rap, basically, at the end of the day. And, me as a hip hop fan, I appreciate that big time. But what do y'all think about that battle? You know what I'm saying? What did you think when it was all going down? Who did you feel won at the time? Who do you feel now when you go back and listen? Do you feel like it was better? Did you hear the blueprint too? Because a lot of people didn't pay attention to that record. You know what I'm saying? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about this battle, the whole story behind it, and whether it is the greatest battle in hip hop history. Leave your comments in the comment section below. So, right now, we like to get into a segment we like to call recommendations, where we recommend something you should go back and listen to. And my recommendation, Tone, I had to dig deep because I got a nice record collection, not actual vinyl, but music collection. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm always looking in the same pockets when I'm trying to go back and listen to something. And then I remembered the album that I hadn't heard in its entirety in a long ass time. And that's Lords of the Underground. Here Come the Lords out of the year 1993.
Woo!
Man, Tone, when I first heard the first song I heard, I bought the single. I got the single in here somewhere in the garage. Still, the original one cassette from '93, but it was Funky Child, and I just remember that beat, and I
Yeah,
remember the
yeah.
video. and it was so captivating because it was just lyrics and energy. And I was like, yo, I don't know who these dudes are, but damn, this record is hot. Um, Obviously, the album drops, and there's other hits on here like Psycho and Chief Rocker, which was huge for them. I think Chief Rocker even extended their fan base even more. Here Come the Lords was another dope joint. Marley Marl did some stuff on here. It was such a dope debut from a group in '93, and it sounds like it. For those who don't know, that when Death Row dropped and the way the East Coast was right before you got the Nas and Black Moon and Wu Tang and Biggie, Lords of the Underground is kind of the hip hop that was happening on the East Coast. Their style of rhyming was that. A lot of wordplay, you know what I'm saying? A lot of inflections in your voice. The videos were like, like again, Dude all had a diaper on in one of the videos, you know what I'm saying? So it was just a crazy time. But as an album, listening to it from 1993, it sounds like it's such a dope debut from a group that didn't see the same level of success with their later albums that followed. But when it comes to Here Come the Lords, man, they had a good 5 singles that were on fire on the radio. And brought me to buy this album. So you should definitely go back and listen to that. Tone, Lords of the Underground, Here Come the Lords. What did you think about the album when you heard it? And what's your recommendation this time?
Man, that Lords of the Underground debut was to me like a strong underground cult classic. You know what I'm saying? And Chief Rocker was one of my favorite songs the year it came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's a great Funky Child was incredible. You know what I'm saying? Here Come the Lords had a nice groovy jazz type beat. And I know, like you said, I think Marlon Marl did some stuff on there. And then Lord Jazz hit me one time, Mr. Funk. Yeah, man. So I like Lord Jazz. Yeah, matter of fact, a little funny tidbit. One of my old friends, man, they Lords of Underground went to Shaw University here. I think it was Shaw or St. Aug down here. And my man used
Yeah,
to
it was
hang out
Shaw.
with the guys or whatever. But yeah, dope album. Yeah, Shaw. Shaw, my man used to hang out with them dudes, man. I think they even came home and kicked it one time. But so yeah, a great, dope group, underappreciated. My pick is the Slim Shady LP Eminem Day. Well, it's not his debut, it's major label debut. Of course, he had Infinite back like 96, 97, where every song he sounded like Nas, AZ, and Redman and Tretch, but that's beside the point. But the Shady LP, man, Dr. Dre put it together perfectly with him, and you had the Big M song, Guilty Conscience with the song that Just Don't Give a F was sick. I mean, the word was sick, you know, Roll. Then he had a bunch of other I like a lot as well, man. I knew about Eminem at the time. I had Infinite at that time. I didn't hear it until 2004, but I was hearing him on Raucous. You know what I'm saying? So he was on Sound Bombing 1. And I was like, damn, that dude can rap. He funny as hell. You know what I'm saying? But that sounds like a white dude, but that dude can rap. You know? So when the Slim Shady LP came out, then I was like, okay, that's the guy from Raucous. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I mean, it sold a whole lot of records, but in between each little funny song where he's like, you know what? Let me show y'all cats I can really rap. Like really rap. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what he did, man. And so he made a cult classic as well. And a commercial legendary album for his fan base, man. So yeah, man, what do you think about the Slim Shady LP, man?
Yeah, man, I remember the first thing I heard off that album was Guilty Conscious, but I had saw the video and I was just like, when you used to seeing Dr. Dre with NWA and then he introducing you to Snoop, you know what I'm saying, and Death Row, and now you see him with this white boy with this quirky video, and you like, yo, what the hell is this? At first you kind of putting it on Dre, like, yo, Dre, what you doing now? Like, where's the Chronic? You know what I'm saying? But the song was
Yeah.
really charming. You know what I'm saying? at the same time with Eminem's lyrics. And I remember I didn't run out and get his album. When I was traveling back to school, I used to like to do this thing. This is when I had the cassette deck with the headphones. Um, I used to like to do this thing where I would buy an album that I wouldn't typically run to the store and buy. And I was like, all right, well, that Eminem cat, like you said, I heard him with Raucus before, and I heard some stuff. I remembered his name from the source way back. I was like, I'm gonna just buy his album, listen to it. And man, I was completely surprised, man. Songs like Brain Damage, where he's telling a story and it's clever at the same time, and it's interesting and it's sad, and it's funny, all in the same breath. And then to do a record like, Bonnie and Clyde, me and my daughter, and he killed his baby moms and he's taking his daughter to dump her body. And at first on the surface, you're like, what kind of song is this? But then you see the way he put it together and you're like, nah, this dude is nice. And he got some storytelling skills. You know what I'm saying? And again, like the record's Tone mentioned,
Great.
it was just one of those things where I think it was the first time I felt like, besides the Beastie Boys, the first time in a long time, let me say that, where I felt like this was a white rapper who looked, and talked like a white boy, but he could rap. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't never really a fan of the white dude who dress, look like us. You know what I'm saying? He do everything like us. He almost don't even seem like he white. No offense to anybody who grew up around black people and can't help it. But Eminem did too. But he talked about mushrooms and stuff that we never really heard in hip hop, and we didn't necessarily have to relate to it. So I just found it highly entertaining, and it kind of hooked me in and made me an Eminem fan back then. Dope album, man. If y'all have never heard it, if y'all one of them fans who like after Eminem show and forward, definitely go check out the Slim Shady LP. It's kind of what set everything up for Eminem for his huge career. And back then, he had the wordplay, he had storytelling, and all of that. Also, go check out Here Come the Lords of the Underground out of 1993. Dope debut hip hop group that doesn't really get their respect nowadays. That's going to do it for us here on That Time in Hip Hop. We hope you enjoyed this action-packed show. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like the go home show for us, because the next show will be our best of 2020. And man, has that changed since what, July, when we was like scrambling to put 5 together? Now we got everything. We got Buster, we got Nas, we got all this stuff to talk about. But this podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts. All you got to do is search for the words Hip Hop Now Podcast, and within that same stream is That Time in Hip Hop. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's a bunch of hip hop content coming to this YouTube channel. There's some stuff you can check out as well. Also, if all of that sounds like a lot and you can't remember and you can't hear, obviously links are in the description, but you can visit intothedome.com, where not only the audio but the video also lives there, along with articles written by Tony. If you like what the game he's spitting, the history he giving you, well, he do that for a number of artists and not just hip-hop artists. Intothedome.com. Visit it. Subscribe to all of it. Stay locked in to what we doing here. On behalf of the homie Tony of intothedome.com, I'm Vegas of Hip Hop Now Podcast. Go out and support real hip-hop. Peace.
Drop it on the random.